What's up guys, Tim Little. Welcome back to TacticalBassin. Today we're going to talk about spring topwater fishing. Springtime, it's getting warmer out, water temps are rising, fish are getting more active. It's time to start thinking about reaction baits and more specifically topwater baits. There are a few key things that I want to discuss with you guys today to think about when you're selecting which baits to throw in the springtime. One of the major things to think about is your water temperature and how active your fish are. You know, the baits that I'm throwing, topwater baits I'm throwing in springtime, are going to be typically different than I would choose in the summertime. And one thing I want you guys to take into consideration or think about is bait movement. And not necessarily side to side, but the distance between you and the bait, the area that you're fishing. You know, fish in the springtime, they're going to be a little bit more lethargic than they would be in the summertime. So, you know, you find out a buzzbait and you're just burning it back to the boat is not necessarily going to be the best choice in the springtime. I like baits that move side to side, but very little movement between you and the bait. They're not covering a lot of distance between you and the bait, you and the boat. Some of the baits that I like are going to have cupped faces. What that's going to allow that bait to do, what's going to make that bait do, it's going to slow that bait down. So it's going to turn side to side, but it's not going to let that bait move towards you as quickly. So if you're trying to decide between like a spook versus like a rover, you can see the cupped face, or even the shower blows, you see that real cupped face, that's going to slow that bait down. You know, when you're fishing a specific area, you want to take time and pick it apart. You're almost finesse fishing that topwater. Those fish aren't going to just come out and blast it every time, right? You're going to fire up there and you're going to work it real slow. You're not trying to cover a lot of distance. So one of my favorite baits to throw in those circumstances is going to be a popper. Fire it out there, bloop, bloop, you know, let it sit there 10, 15, 20 seconds. Give those fish time to just kind of look at it and go for it. Plopper, it's one of the probably the most overlooked topwater baits there are, but it puts giants in the boat, it puts big fish in the boat. It's very easy to fish. You can fish it super slow, has a lot of drawing power with the sound, and it's easy for them to get in their mouth. Some of my favorite popper baits going to be the Rio Rico, the Yellow Magic. We'll link to all of the baits that we discussed down in the video description, just like every video. But another thing you want to think about, because you are fishing a lot slower, color selection is key. You know, if one day they're eating one color and the next day they're not, think about changing the colors, because they're going to have a lot more time to sit there and just stare at that bait because it's not covering a lot of distance. Typically I'm not going to throw a buzz bait in the springtime, only because I feel like it moves too fast. If I want to throw that style of bait, I'm going to go with a whopper plopper. Whopper plopper, we all have grown to love them. They got that really unique sound, but the cool thing about the whopper plopper is you can stop it. Again, you're not trying to work too fast. A buzz bait, you fire it out there, you throw it, you stop it, it's going to sink, right? The whopper plopper, you can pop it, let it sit there, and really try and get those fish to key in on it. One of the baits I haven't really talked a lot about in the past, I think Matt has done some videos on them. It's going to be the River to Sea, the Bubble Walker. Matt's the one that really turned me on to this bait. You know, it's got, in the face of it, it's got like the actual gills are open and it leaves a bubble trail. But it's got that real big cupped face. And they come in all different sizes. Here's the little guy right here. But that bait is something that you can fire out there and you pop it and you can walk it. We've shot videos in the past about walking poppers, but when you just give little tiny rod twitches with this bait right here, that bait sits on its rear end and just moves side to side. Just a little bit of commotion, and it's not covering distance between the bait and the boat. It's literally walking back and forth on itself. You know, something like a spook or, you know, some of the bigger walking baits, they're covering a lot of distance side to side, right? They're not necessarily covering a lot of distance, you know, from to the boat, but they're still covering. They got the real wide glide, that real wide walk, whereas that bubble walker has a real short side to side. And I feel like that in the springtime is a bait that is something you should have in your tackle box. You got anything else to add, Matt?
Well, I mean, I think you covered it. I mean, that bubble walker is probably my #1 favorite bait in the springtime for this style of fishing. I mean, Tim already told you, but it has worked so well for so long, because this isn't a new bait to the industry. It's been around a long time. We've been smashing with it forever. But it, like he said, the advantage is that it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the rear end of that bait is almost staying still and the nose is kicking, versus like a spook,
right,
where you have that big wide walk that's covering water. There is so much to be said when you're trying to get that giant springtime bite for that bait that just stays right in front of those fish. You get the commotion, you get the sound. Obviously you have size, right? It's massive compared to, say, a spook. Overall body size is very large, but you're just not going anywhere. You're soaking it in front of the fish. They don't want that thing making all that sound in their house. I mean, it's all stuff you said. Right. You're not trying to get 50 bites a day. You're trying to get 1, 2, 3, 10 bites a day. But you're trying to get the right bites. And if you keep your selection simple, if you focus on baits that don't cover water, that you can really soak effectively over a fish, that's it.
Yeah, real quick, I want to add, if you're fishing structure, you're fishing a dock, you're fishing a tree, you're fishing something, obviously the bait that doesn't move, that doesn't cover a lot of distance, is going to be best. But another thing that you want to take into consideration is sound. Now, we've shot an in-depth topwater bait video before, and our buddy Coop actually really keyed into us on with the shower blows and the sound that this bait makes. And if you are on a fishery where you are fishing a lot of docks, little metal docks with metal roofs, think about some of the sound that these baits make. Some of them can be really too much. So focus on baits that don't cover a lot of distance, that kind of anchor on the rear and just cover, you know, side to side, right? Slow down, consider color, and go out and have a blast, guys. Topwater fishing is some of the best. I mean, the blowups are some of the best parts of fishing there is. But if you guys have any comments or any questions down below in the comment section, Matt and I will try and get to those. If you guys like that video, hit the like button. Remember, subscribe to our channel, and we'll talk to you soon, guys. Hope you have a good day.